Welcome to Housing for Good, a podcast dedicated to housing topics and issues affecting our communities in McPherson County and beyond. With years of experience and expertise, hosts Chris Goodson and Karolyn Moore discuss housing challenges and opportunities with other experts from a variety of housing fields.
Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Housing for Good. I'm Karolyn.
And I'm Chris.
Okay, Chris, so we are doing kind of a special week episode.
Yeah.
We want to talk about what's going on with all the wildfires and the displacement of families. But first, what do you have for news?
So we have Brush Up Mac. We want to remind everybody in McPherson County that Brush Up Mac is coming. I think that's April 19th.
Yes.
You should be able to download if you want to participate in some way, whether you're a volunteer or you want to have your house worked on.
Yeah.
You should be able to download those. Also, we can go to the Legion, the American Legion.
I just took some to the American Legion. I took some to the library.
Chamber of Commerce. Senior Center, Council on Aging, all have our applications. So pick those up if you want to volunteer or you want your house worked on. We would love to have you participate.
Yes.
Our big numbers in the past used to be like 300 plus volunteers, and we're hoping to pull our numbers back up that far.
Yeah, we've dropped a little bit over the last couple of years. So.
Or if you want to donate to Brush Up Mac and get your name on the back of our T-shirt, contact us. 620-241-7828, extension 11 or 17, and we'd be happy to get you something out there, and you can put your name on the back of our shirts.
Yes.
It's great advertising. I mean, you think about how many shirts, 100 to 300 shirts are running around. It's for long periods of time.
For every year.
So anyways, It's pretty cheap. It's $100 to have your name on that T-shirt. So if you want to donate to that, just send us some money, and we'll put you on there.
Good point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Okay, so as everybody's been seeing, we have lots of houses that have been burning in California.
Didn't you want to talk about the pit count?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what got us talking. So the pit count is something that happens every year, data that's collected on a single night, one time a year. The money that comes from HUD comes to the different agencies based upon your pit count. So, for example, last year, that pit count determined there were more than 770,000 people experiencing homelessness on a single night.
Across
and that was
the nation.
Across the nation.
That is mind-boggling.
Crazy. Yeah.
That's almost a million. I mean, I know it's short, but that's almost a million people who don't have a place to live.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for Kansas, it was only 2,636 people. For California, it was 181,399. And then you look at what has happened with the fires and the number of homes that have been destroyed out there. It makes me sick to my stomach.
It does. According to the information that I have from Economic Times, 100,000 residents have been displaced.
Yeah.
100,000 people. So you add that to what we already have with the homeless population, and now you add 100,000 people to that count. That's just mind-boggling. Where are people going?
Yeah.
What are they doing? I have family members out there myself, and they're all safe. A couple of them have had to evacuate. One did lose his home in the last wildfire in Malibu, but he's been able to rebuild, and he's fine. But what happens if you don't have those resources to rebuild or to go stay at another family member's house or go to a hotel that may be packed because everybody else is trying to go where you're trying to go? Or I mean, it's just, I can't imagine what is going on. And, where are people going who are homeless?
Yeah. Yeah.
They already don't have a place.
They already don't have a place. Yeah, I don't know, short of having to leave the area where the fires were burning, if you're already homeless, I don't know how this could affect you anymore other than now there's additional people trying to get the same kind of resources that you're trying to get, whether that's a meal from the food bank or whether that's a soup kitchen line. What does that look like? So, yeah, it just compounds everything for the folks that are already dealing with homelessness.
And I was trying to figure out, how did they evacuate? Because, if you have a car, you can drive out, although the freeways, people were literally driving and leaving their cars in the middle of the road and running.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a vehicle, how do you get out of there?
Yeah.
I don't even know how you evacuate.
Well, and that's really not anything that's been on any of the news stories to say what people are experiencing. The focus has been on the people whose homes are burning. So if you're already homeless, they're not really focusing on that. I did a little bit of checking because I was interested to know when they talk about 12,000 homes and businesses and schools in Los Angeles that are destroyed. And then on top of that, there's some that have been damaged that aren't completely destroyed, but they've been damaged. So I did some looking. And, for McPherson, put this in some perspective, because when you hear that big old number, it's like, well, what does that even look like? I mean, I look at the map and I see city blocks completely gone out in California. So comparing that on citydata.com, the city of McPherson has 6,328 homes. So that's like twice the number of homes that McPherson has.
Yeah.
One number that was staggering to me was Manhattan, 24,411. So this is like 49% of Manhattan.
Manhattan, Kansas
has just burned and is gone.
Yeah.
And so it's just the numbers are so big, they're just so overwhelming. It's difficult to put it in perspective. And I thought that helped me anyway to kind of understand exactly the scope of what they're dealing with out there.
Well, and then the other thing that's been a problem, I was looking on some other data sources, and price gouging and rental market exploitation are starting to happen already.
Yes.
Every time there's a wildfire, and it's not just California's in the news right now, that's why we're talking about it, but the tornadoes that have happened and the hurricanes that are happening in Florida and North and South Carolina and that whole area. I mean, we're not really hearing any more about that, but lots of places were destroyed. There was water and flooding. So what happens there? We already have a housing crisis across the country. All these people are affected. And now you have this huge natural disaster.
Yeah.
And now what happens? Are we preparing ourselves as cities, as counties, as states, as the country to deal with this?
No, we're not. And I just heard an article or a reporter this morning on the news said that they were interviewing a lady who said that she's looking for housing for her family. The woman, her sister, and their mother all lived together or within, I think maybe there was 2 houses involved. They lived within a couple blocks of each other. So these 3 women that are family members are now all homeless, looking for someplace else to go. And she said the problem is feels like everybody is looking for someplace new to live. And the reporter said that they were aware of people who are telling landlords, if you will rent to me, I will pay you $1,000 more per month.
Wow.
And I will pay you for a year in advance. I will give you a year's worth of rent plus $1,000 for every month if you'll rent to me. Again, it kind of goes to the whoever has the most money wins.
Yeah, the resources to be able to pay for that. And so what happens to people who are a little more middle class or lower middle class they're doing okay. They have a home. Maybe they've lived in it for 20 or 30 years, but they don't have a huge nest egg or big savings, but they're doing fine.
Yeah.
And now we've just added all those people to homelessness. That's the thing people don't understand. Sometimes people become homeless with no fault of their own. They didn't cause this wildfire.
Yeah.
They don't cause hurricanes or tornadoes or all those other natural disasters. So what happens to them?
Yeah, they're just caught up in whatever's happened.
And then do you stay? I mean, if my house burned, is everything gone? Did anything survive? Do I need to protect my property to make sure that what little that may be left is going to be looted? Or I mean, what happens? And I just don't know what happens on the ground at that point.
Yeah.
Hopefully FEMA comes in and maybe builds some temporary homes or something. But I mean, this is a major crisis.
Yeah. Well, and FEMA has already, for the folks who lost their homes in North Carolina during Hurricane Helene, said there were 250,000 plus homes that were damaged or destroyed in North Carolina. FEMA just recently extended the transitional shelter program for 3,500 households. But the problem is they're only expanding it until January 25th.
Oh, yeah, which isn't enough time to do anything. I thought that when we were talking earlier, that you had some information on insurance, because that's a real major issue, insurance.
Yes. The information that I was able to find said that insurance companies were canceling or have stopped writing new policies in California because the government out there put a restriction on how much they could raise the premiums. So the insurance companies were citing replacement costs and the inability to raise premiums as a reason that they were going to pull out of California.
That's really scary to think about, owning a home without insurance.
Yeah.
I mean, if your house burns down, you're done. I mean, you have nothing.
And that's what a lot of folks out there are facing. They had no fire insurance. So you could have insurance on your home in case you had a pipe break or something like that, but no fire insurance.
Wow.
So a lot of those folks, once it burned, they have nothing. There's nobody going to step in and give them money for their house. And then what we saw in North Carolina was people in North Carolina don't carry flood insurance. They don't expect there to be a flood where they lived. And so I did some research on that. And so a landslide, a sinkhole, and an earthquake, you have to have specific insurance that covers earth movement, or you have no insurance when those types of natural disasters happen.
That's so scary. We had some insurance, and they canceled our policy because we supposedly used it too much. Even if sometimes you have them come out to check something, that's considered something against your home, and they canceled our policy. So they're like, well, we're going to cancel your housing policy, but we'll keep your cars and this and that.
Yeah.
We're like, no. We won't. We're not going to do that. So we fortunately live in a place we have lots of options. So we were able to get insurance for our house and our cars and everything else. But I can't imagine how scary that would be to live somewhere and not have insurance on your house. That's the biggest investment that most of us will have is your home. That's what builds wealth. That's what really gets us to that next level of being out of poverty, is owning a home, having equity, hoping passing that down to your children.
Yeah.
And that's just gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, a whole generation of wealth is just gone.
So now those folks in California, they're really looking at, is there anything here to keep me here? Why would I stay here? Can I rebuild here? I have this piece of property, but like I don't have any insurance to cover what I just lost. The other thing that I found that I thought was really interesting, you know, we all just paid our insurance. I know my insurance just came due, so I had to pay that. So typical insurance, just average Americans, my information said, this was NerdWallet and News Press is where I got these numbers. For average Americans, you're going to pay between $2,350 to $2,600 a year for your insurance. I think mine might have been just a little bit less than that. But that's for average homeowners insurance. Okay, in California, with these restrictions on the premiums, people in California were only having to pay $1,405 a year in insurance.
Which is quite a bit less than what everybody else is paying.
Significantly less. Okay, so now you kind of start to understand why the insurance companies are saying, okay, wait a minute.
Right.
They're restricting what we can charge, but we know to replace a home, to insure a home for replacement costs, you know. Okay. In Florida, this blew my mind. In Florida, we have people that are paying $10,996 a year for insurance. And the reason? All the hurricanes.
I just, this housing has gotten just so out of control. How does anybody that lives in any of these states, these coastal states, how are they supposed to afford? I mean, you must make some pretty good money to be able to pay $10,000 a year for your insurance.
Yeah.
Plus everything else that goes with owning a home and the cost of the home and all of that. And so it's just mind-boggling. But that kind of shows you how economics works. That if you don't allow a company to be able to cover their losses and make a profit, they can no longer be in your state. I mean, if you can't make a profit, and so you have to look at when we're making policies at the federal and state level, how are those policies going to ultimately affect the people that are living within your state?
Absolutely.
I mean, you're trying to help people by reducing costs, but at the same time, is that really working for anybody? Because I'm in business. I have my own company, and I'm in business to make a profit. Yeah. I'm not in business to gouge people, but I am in business to make a profit. If I can't make a profit, what's the point?
What's the point
of taking the risks and doing all of that? I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just sounds like a disaster to me.
So the other part of this whole issue that really comes to light is the fact that during the PIT count for 2024, 20% of people experiencing homelessness in America were 55 and older. So we've talked about if something happens and you lose your house and you're a younger person, you start over. What happens when you're 55 or older and you're expecting to be able to retire and now this kind of thing happens to you? We're already seeing an increase in that population becoming homeless for the first time, and that can be death of a spouse, a divorce, a job loss. Maybe you're evicted, you're on fixed income, and the landlord raises your rent, you can't afford it anymore. Or major health issues come along and you're having to choose between what your health needs are and where you're going to live. Another piece of information that I was able to look at had to do with the number of households that are doubling up. This family that they interviewed, that I watched the interview on TV, where we had a mother and her daughter living together and another daughter living fairly close. In California alone, they had in 2024, 732,576 families where they're doubled up, multi-generational, all living in one roof. That to me is just a crazy number. And again, if you're now one of those families that's been displaced, it's not just one family. Right. It's really two families that are living together.
Yeah, it's a whole it's generations of people that have been displaced. And that's pretty common when expenses get high.
Yeah.
I mean, think about kids that are coming out of college or kids in school or young people. They have a tendency to have roommates because they can't live on their own, even though maybe they're all professionals making great money. They just cannot afford it. So that's the answer. You double up. Mm-hmm. And so it's just, man.
Or if you fall within that age frame that you and I are, where your parents are needing help,
right?
Or one of them passes away, so you move the other one in with you to help them, and just kind of keep the family moving. And
it is very, very difficult. So I was trying to look at what kind of assistance there is, and FEMA is a big player in all of this.
Yeah.
So they do provide funds for rent, lodging, and home repairs. But I do know from experience that when they come in, if you've had some kind of an event, they don't pay you for all of it. It's just a percentage of it. So they're not going to come in typically and rebuild your home or repair your home. They're going to give you a set dollar amount that's going to say, okay, this is what you get. Based on our little evaluation, you can have this much money to repair what was damaged. And so that is not enough money to completely repair those homes to how they need to be.
The other thing is that money is also used to put you up in a hotel, to get you housed. So that was another thing that kept coming out. Is another family that I saw interviewed in the last couple of days. She said that they had been at 3 B&Bs, bed and breakfasts, in the California area around where they lived because it was available, but they had bookings, so they would stay there a night or two, and they'd have to leave then because somebody else is coming in.
Right.
So they had been to 3 separate B&Bs trying to keep shelter.
And how affordable is that?
Yeah.
Because you can't, I mean, if you're in an Airbnb, you can't cook, you can't, I mean, you're going to have to bring food in if you can find anything, because if there's all these people displaced, I wonder how it's affecting the businesses, the fast foods, the restaurants. If my house burned down, I may or may not show up at work.
Yeah.
If my building is still there.
Well, and how many miles away from where you work are you having to stay? And then getting around. I was looking at a map today of the wildfires and where stuff is burning now. So in Palisades, they've only got that one 19% contained. And it looks to me like it's burning now, moving inland up towards the San Fernando. It's quite a ways from there, but moving away from the ocean, more inland. Mm-hmm. And then on the Eaton fire, 45% contained, and the Hearst fire, 97% contained. So they've still got some issues going on, and I know they keep talking about the winds.
The Santa Anas?
The winds.
Yeah, the Santa Anas. So they're worried that could bring those sparks back and make them fly to different areas and catch something else on fire. I don't know. I saw something at the Hollywood fire. Hollywood sign was on fire. I don't know if that was something. That makes me sad. I mean, we lived in the San Fernando Valley when I was growing up, and that neighborhood for now is safe, but that whole area, Granada Hills, and all of that, Van Nuys, and so if you're from the area, you know what areas I'm talking about. But it's my understanding that there's been some potential stuff there going on that could really catch on fire and affect those people.
Well, and they, it's like, okay, how does that fire burn over here and then miles away it starts something else? And it all has to do with the stuff in the air.
Yep.
the stuff that's flying through the air. And they were saying that is also causing health issues for people. The ash and the particulate that are in the air are not healthy to breathe.
I actually sent a message to my cousin David. So, hey, David, if you're listening, the nearest fire for him was the Eaton fire, which was 20 miles away. And he himself was not affected, but his wife, who worked at the library there, was close to the fire zone. And many of her coworkers lost their homes, so it's very personal for them, of course. And he said, now remember, this is 20 miles away. The air quality was bad for a few days, and he lives in Whittier. So he said that he had to put a mask on just to go outside and get the mail.
Wow.
Just from the little bit of distance between his door and the mailbox, which I don't know if it's on the house or where it is, but he said it was that bad. So it is not only affecting the people in the affected areas, but anybody within a 20, 30-mile radius, I'm guessing.
Yeah, depending on the way the wind's blowing.
Yeah. So anyways, I've had several family members. My one cousin who lives up in the, I'm trying to think of where he is. But anyways, he lives closer to, we used to call it Magic Mountain. And, And so, anyways, Santa Clarita. Yes, he lives somewhere. He lives kind of by Santa Clarita, and he said they evacuate on a regular basis because these fires are just so prevalent anymore out there with the dryness and the lack of rain that they have. He's just like used to it.
Yeah.
So when something actually happens, I think it takes everybody by surprise because you kind of get used to. It's kind of like here when we have tornadoes. We're like, oh, it's a tornado siren. Everybody runs outside to watch the tornadoes instead of hiding in the basement.
Instead of going to the basement.
Well, that's what they do, too, I think.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, he just said they're just so used to it out there that they don't really take it seriously, I think.
Yeah.
Some of them.
You know, there's somebody I know that they lived in Texas when all of those fires were burning down there a number of years ago. And she told us, she said, you know, they tell you to evacuate. So the first time they tell you that, you take all your medication, you get your dog food, you have all your important papers, and you kind of make this plan, and so you evacuate and take all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, then the next time they tell you to evacuate, maybe you take your medicines. You don't really take serious the dog food because, you know, you're going to be back. So it's just this lull that you get drawn into.
Never going to happen.
Or it's not really going to happen. It's just a warning or an alert, you know. And then what she said was the time they left and they came back and nothing was there.
Yeah.
So it is so traumatic for these families that, you know, and the National Guard doesn't want to let people in without being sure that you belong there, which I get that. But people need to be able to go back and see.
Yeah, what's left, because you don't believe it. You've been evacuated so many times that you don't believe it. We had a tornado here in McPherson, and we had just bought a new house, and we had a little house that we moved out of, and we still owned it, and the tornado hit right in that area. We were like, man, okay, I never wished this on anybody, but we were kind of wishing the house would blow away so we could be done with it. And it didn't, but they wouldn't let us back in. And we're like, wait a minute, we own a house over here. And the police are like, no, you can't go in there. It's not safe. Yeah. I think every house was affected but ours.
Oh, wow.
So we were like...
Well, the other thing, the really bad side of humanity that we're seeing is people are being arrested for looting.
Yeah.
I can't imagine going to where somebody's house has just been destroyed by fire.
And stealing.
And you're going to go steal from whatever's left? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So
it's really sad how people take advantage. But there are also good people out there. I know there's a lot of people raising funds, and I don't have a phone number or an email or a text to tell anybody where to go. But I would, if you're interested in the California fires, I would look that up and see if there's a place you can donate.
Red Cross is always someplace you can donate.
Yeah.
And they, be careful because people will use that as a scam.
Yeah.
I think there was a police officer said if they say Red Cross of California, okay, that is not real. So make sure you're checking it out. It's just Red Cross. They are nationwide.
Right.
But there are some places to give money. There was another article I saw on the news about a business actually collecting clothing and, shoes, that kind of thing, try to get people the clothing that they need. And they actually are working with where these families are staying, how to get a hold of people, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
One more thing that I just heard about this morning, and it kind of surprised me, but in the flooding that happened in North Carolina, Apparently, the power company down there in that area sent a text message to every resident that has service with them. Makes sense. Except the text messages, if you're an older person and you don't have a cell phone, that text message went to a landline
that
you didn't respond to. And the power company was going in and pulling the electrical boxes. So now this person that I was talking with said that her girlfriend's mother now doesn't have a power box on her house, even though she's trying to get the house back so she can live in it. And now she has this extra compound of, well, they pulled her electrical box. And so now she's got to go through the headache of getting all that back again.
Plus, they're trying to put everybody's electrical up besides hers, so she may or may not be priority.
Exactly.
Oh,
and so
goodness.
there are those things that we don't even think about. You know, when you mentioned it made me think of this story when you mentioned that they won't let you in because it's not safe. Well, I get that. There's gas connections that need to be stopped. There, you know, different things. So they're trying to protect people. But I think sometimes the way that we communicate with each other hasn't necessarily caught up, especially if you're an older person. You've had that service forever. Remember that you give your cell numbers to the power company, the gas company, you know, those people that might need to be able to get a hold of you at some point.
Yeah, it's just such a difficult situation, and we need to look as a country, what can we do to more efficiently not only handle these natural disasters, but people who are homeless, people who just became homeless, housing instability. We need to really look at this situation and try to figure out what can we do. What are we doing that's working and what are we doing that is absolutely not working across the country and deal with it.
Yeah.
Because it's just, you know, we're the richest country, one of the richest countries in the world. It's unacceptable to me.
Yeah,
that we cannot do a better job of this. Whether it's nonprofits coming in, whether it's government stuff, whatever that needs to be, we need to deal with it and we need to do a better job.
Yep, I agree. Well, thank you so much. I hope that you learned something from this podcast. If you would be interested to leave us a review, or if you know somebody that would love to be a part of our podcast, we would like to have them on. And you can leave us a review at housingforgood@mcphersonhc.org. Thank you for listening and have a great day.
Have a great day.